The gas station sits 30 miles from the nearest town, stranded between long stretches of pine forest and a strip of highway so dark it looks like it swallows light. There are no streetlights, no houses, no late-night diners glowing in the distance. Just two aging pumps beneath a flickering canopy and a convenience store with buzzing fluorescent lights that never quite feel bright enough. I work the midnight to 6 shift. Out here, time doesn't move normally. It stretches. Carl hired me without asking for references. He didn't even glance at my resume for more than a second. He just studied my face like he was measuring something behind my eyes. Then he handed me a key, an old metal flashlight, and pointed to a laminated sheet taped behind the counter. 6 rules were printed in bold black letters. Simple things at first glance. Lock the doors at exactly 6. Never leave the counter unattended after 2. Don't go outside if the pumps activate by themselves. Rule number 5 was underlined twice. Don't respond to your own voice. I laughed the first time I read it. I thought it was some small-town joke, a way to haze the new guy. Carl didn't laugh. You'll hear it eventually, he said quietly. Everyone does. He didn't explain more than that. The first week passed normally. Drunk drivers stopping for cigarettes. Long-haul truckers buying energy drinks. The occasional insomniac who didn't want to be alone at home. The forest stayed silent. The lights hummed. Nothing strange happened. Then Tuesday came. 12:43 a.m. No customers. No wind. No insects buzzing against the glass. Just the faint hum of the fluorescent lights and the low electrical whine from the drink coolers. I was restocking cigarettes, half focused, half drifting, when I heard it. Hey! Soft. Directly behind me. I turned instantly, heart jumping into my throat. Nobody there. The store was empty. The security monitor showed the pumps outside, both dark and unused. The parking lot was a black rectangle swallowed by trees. I told myself it was stress. Lack of sleep. The mind fills silence with noise. Then I heard it again. Turn around. It was my voice. Not similar. Not almost. Exactly mine. Same pitch. Same tone. Same lazy way I drag certain syllables at the end of a sentence. It carried the same casual irritation I use when I'm impatient. It came from the back hallway that leads to the storage room. Rule number 5. Don't respond to your own voice. My throat tightened so hard it hurt to swallow. Very funny, it said. Still me. Perfectly me. I didn't move. I didn't speak. My palms went slick with sweat against the cardboard cigarette cartons. The hallway light flickered once. Then stayed on. Why are you ignoring me? It asked. Closer now. Each word carried a slight echo, as if it was bouncing off walls that weren't there. I stayed silent. The voice shifted again. Now it sounded like it was standing right behind the cigarette rack. Look at me. I felt something breathe near my ear. Cold. Slow. Measured. The air moved against my skin with deliberate rhythm, like someone studying me from inches away. My heart pounded so loudly I was certain it could hear it. But when I spun around, nothing. Just empty aisles. Gum displays. The counter. The flickering overhead lights. The door chime rang suddenly. I flinched so hard I nearly knocked over the rack. A customer walked in, a middle-aged man in a baseball cap. He didn't look at me. Just headed straight to the cooler. The voice stopped immediately. Not faded. Not retreated. Stopped. Like it had never existed. The man paid for gas in cash and left without small talk. His tires crunched over gravel, then the highway swallowed him. Silence again. I checked the hallway. Empty. But the storage room door was open. I always keep it closed. Always. The light inside was on. Shelves of supplies sat undisturbed. No movement. No sound. Yet the air inside felt colder than the store. That night, when I locked up at 6, I stared at the rule sheet again. My hands trembled as I read the bold letters. Rule number 5. Don't respond to your own voice. But something had changed. Someone had scratched something underneath it in black marker. The letters were jagged, uneven, like the writer's hand shook while carving them in. It wants permission. The second night, it didn't wait long. 12:07 a.m. Earlier than before. Like it had been counting down. The station felt different the moment midnight passed. The air inside the store was heavier, thick with the chemical chill of the freezers and the faint scent of burnt coffee. Outside, the highway was a black ribbon cutting through miles of pine forest. No headlights. No wind. Just the low electrical hum of the canopy lights flickering above the pumps. I was behind the counter pretending to scroll through my phone when I heard it. Miss me? From the freezer aisle. My voice again. But slightly wrong this time. Too clear. Too clean. Like it was being pushed through hidden speakers in the ceiling. No distortion. No echo. Just perfect, polished imitation. Every muscle in my back tightened. I stayed behind the counter. I didn't answer. Rule number 5 was underlined twice for a reason. Don't respond to your own voice. Silence stretched across the store. The refrigerators hummed. I shifted in the machine near the soda fountain. Then it laughed. I don't laugh like that. Mine is short. Awkward. Breath heavy. This laugh was smooth. Controlled. Delighted. Why won't you talk to me? The security monitors above the cigarette rack flickered. Monitor 3, the hallway cam, went black. Static swallowed the screen in a hiss of grey and white. My throat went dry. I stared at the blank feed, willing it to come back. My reflection hovered faintly over the other monitors. Pale. Sweaty. Then the picture snapped back on. Someone was standing in the hallway. Me. Same navy uniform. Same cheap name tag. Same posture, shoulders slightly slouched from too many overnight shifts. Head tilted just a few degrees too far. Watching the camera. Not moving. Not blinking. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like the floor had given out beneath me. Very slowly, I turned my head toward the real hallway. Empty. Just the narrow strip of tile leading past the employee bathroom and the stockroom door. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Nothing there. When I looked back at the monitor, the double was gone. The feed showed an empty hallway again. My breath came shallow and fast. You should come back here, the voice whispered. It didn't echo through the store this time. It felt closer. Warmer. Like someone leaning over my shoulder. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Heavy. Dragging slightly. Like wet shoes on tile. Slow at first. Then another step. And another. I grabbed the flashlight from beneath the counter. My fingers were slick with sweat, nearly dropping it as I switched it on. The beam cut a thin white line through the dim store lighting. I don't know why I stepped out. Maybe I wanted to prove it wasn't real. Maybe I wanted control. Or maybe something inside me wanted to see it up close. The automatic doors at the front of the store rattled softly, even though no one was outside. The forest beyond the glass was pitch black. Halfway down the main aisle. Stop. Right behind me. I froze. It was perfect mimicry. Same tone. Same pacing. Even the slight catch in my throat between words. I didn't turn around. If you turn around, it said softly, almost kindly, I'll be wearing your face. The lights flickered violently overhead. Rapid flashes that made the store strobe in broken frames. In one flash, the aisle was empty. In the next, I thought I saw a shadow stretching longer than it should behind me. Then all at once, every freezer door slammed shut. Boom! 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 Glass rattled in their frames. Frost puffed against the inside panels. The building shook like something massive had thrown its weight against the walls. I ran. The flashlight beam bounced wildly as I sprinted back behind the counter, nearly slipping on the tile. The hallway camera went black again. Static. Longer this time. The dragging footsteps stopped. Silence. When the feed came back, the double was closer to the lens. Much closer. Its face filled most of the screen. Smiling. Wider than I ever could. Its jaw stretched too far, the corners of its mouth pulling back until the skin looked strained and thin. Like it was tearing from the inside. Its eyes were wrong. Too glossy. Too reflective. Like multiple light sources were bouncing inside them, even though the hallway lighting hadn't changed. It leaned closer to the camera. I could see pores. Skin texture. Even the small scar above my eyebrow. Then its lips moved. No sound came from the speakers. But I knew what it said. Come here. The feed cut completely. All monitors went black at once. The overhead lights dimmed to a low, sickly yellow. And then I heard it. Running. Not dragging anymore. Running. From the hallway. Shoes slamming hard against tile. Fast. Too fast. Coming straight toward the front of the store. Toward me. Toward the counter. The sound grew louder with every second, echoing off the narrow walls, closing the distance between us in violent, pounding strides. I backed away until my shoulders hit the cigarette display. The running didn't slow down. It didn't hesitate. It didn't stop. It was almost at the corner. And whatever turned that corner, it was going to be wearing my face. It rounded the corner at full speed. I saw it clearly this time. My body. My face. But the skin looked loose, like it had been stitched in a hurry. Like it was draped over something taller, broader, something that didn't quite understand the limits of bone and muscle. My uniform hung wrong on it. The name tag bent at an angle that didn't match my chest. It sprinted straight at the counter. I ducked. It hit the register with a deafening crash. Glass exploded outward in a spray of glittering shards. The lottery display toppled. Cigarette packs rained down behind me. The entire counter shuddered as if the building itself had flinched. For a second, there was only ringing in my ears. Then the thing stood upright. Slowly. Bones cracking. Snapping. Resetting. Its head rolled on its shoulders before locking into place. My face stared back at me, but the smile was stretched too far, too tight, like plastic pulled over a skull. You should have answered, it said. The voice wasn't perfect anymore. It wasn't just mine. It was layered. Multiple tones speaking through the same throat, overlapping, slightly out of sync. A chorus trying to mimic a solo. My hands found the metal coffee pot beside the machine. Still half full. Heavy. I didn't think. I swung. It connected with its jaw. There was a wet tearing sound. Skin split open along the cheek. Underneath. Nothing human. No muscle. No bone. Just black. Moving. Shifting. Folding into itself like smoke trapped in a mold shaped like me. It laughed. The sound didn't echo in the room. It echoed inside my skull. Like it was using my own head as a speaker. You gave me permission, it whispered. My heart stuttered. I remembered. The first night. When I heard my voice from the storage room and thought it was a prank. When it said, very funny. When I'd muttered under my breath, barely louder than a sigh. Shut up. I responded. Rule number 5 wasn't just about conversation. It was about acknowledgement. About confirming it existed. The creature lunged. Its hand clamped onto my shoulders. Freezing. Burning cold at the same time. The kind of cold that felt like it was crawling into your bloodstream. It slammed me against the cigarette wall. Metal racks bent. Boxes burst open. Lighters scattered across the floor. "Your voice is comfortable," it said, breath fogging against my face. "It fits." Its jaw unhinged wider than any human's could. I heard the cartilage tear as it tried to stretch. The blackness inside its mouth deepened, widening, reshaping, as if preparing to pour itself over me like liquid. Trying to press over my face. To wear me from the inside. I shoved it back with everything I had. My hand slipped against its skin. It felt wrong. Not flesh. Not solid. Like pushing against rubber filled with cold air. It stumbled. For a split second, it flickered. Glitched. Like bad reception on an old television. Its outline doubled, tripled, then snapped back into place. My face jittered between expressions, fear, anger, emptiness, all layered over each other. The overhead lights buzzed violently. The front door burst open. Wind howled through the store, knocking over a rack of chips. The bell above the door rang once. Loud. Sharp. Or maybe it wasn't wind. The thing froze. Head tilted. Listening. Its eyes, my eyes, shifted past me toward the entrance. For the first time, something like uncertainty crossed its features. Then it looked at me one last time. Not angry. Not rushed. Calculating. And it ran. But not toward the exit. Toward the hallway behind the counter. Toward the storage room. Where there are no cameras. My legs barely obeyed me as I staggered after it. Every instinct screamed to run outside, to get into my car, to drive until the road ended. But if it disappeared back there, if it found a place without light, without lenses, without proof, it wouldn't just mimic my voice anymore. It would perfect it. The hallway lights flickered as I stepped into them. The air grew colder with each step. I could hear something ahead of me. Not footsteps. Breathing. Lead breathing. Like several lungs trying to sync up. The storage room door was half open. Dark inside. No camera. No witness. And from within the black, my own voice called softly. "Help me. I should have left. I didn't." Something about knowing it was wearing me made my brain snap in a way fear never had. The idea that it could peel me off like clothing, hang me up like a coat, step into my voice and walk out smiling at strangers, something inside me refused that ending. I grabbed the baseball bat from under the counter. My hands were shaking so hard the aluminum hummed. The security monitor behind me flickered with static, the camera in the storage hall showing nothing but a warped blur, like heat rising off asphalt. The storage room door was wide open. I was certain I'd shut it. I always shut it. The air inside felt thick. Not dusty. Not stale. Thick. Like stepping into deep water where sound dulled and pressure hugged your skull. My ears popped as I crossed the threshold. The smell hit next, metallic and sour, like old coins and something rotting underneath. The single light bulb overhead flickered violently. Then steadied. And I saw them. Hanging from hooks along the back wall. Faces. Not whole heads. Just faces. Men. Women. Old. Young. Different skin tones. Different shapes. All hollowed. All empty inside. The edges ragged and pink, like they'd been removed carefully but not cleanly. The eye holes sagged. The mouths hung open in permanent silent screams. They looked soft. Recently used. Like masks. They swayed gently though there was no wind. Some had dried streaks beneath the eyes. Some still glistened. And beneath the copper smell, I recognized something worse. Sweat. Breath. Human. One hook was empty. Waiting. The creature stood in the center of the room with its back turned to me. The skin it wore, my skin, was peeling slowly from its shoulders, slipping downward like melting wax. My jacket pulled with it. My hair slid off its scalp and dropped wetly to the concrete. Underneath was something tall. Too tall. Its spine extended upward in segmented ridges, pushing against thinning flesh before tearing free. Limbs bent in wrong directions, elbows splitting and reforming lower down. Its fingers were long and jointed too many times, scraping the floor with soft ticking sounds. Skin continued to slide from it in sheets, folding at its feet like discarded laundry. My face hung halfway down its chest for a second before tearing free with a wet sound and slapping onto the pile. It turned. Without skin, it had no texture. No color. Just a featureless black surface that swallowed the light instead of reflecting it. Smooth and endless, like staring into deep oil. Except for a mouth. Carved deep. Stretching across its head from one side to the other. The slit widened slowly. There were no lips. No teeth. Just darkness within darkness. It spoke without moving. The sound came from everywhere at once. From the hooks. From the walls. From behind my eyes. I borrow what answers me. The voices on the hooks whispered faint echoes of that sentence, layered and distorted. It moved faster than before. 1 second it stood 10 feet away. The next it was in front of me. The back connected with a crack that shuddered up my arms, but it barely slowed it. The impact felt wrong, like hitting rubber stretched over stone. It slammed me into the metal shelves. They collapsed with a screech. Boxes exploded. Cans burst open and rolled across the floor. Faces fell from hooks and scattered, some landing open side up. When they hit, they made soft choking noises. Whispers crawled through the room. Old voices. Trapped ones. Don't answer. Don't speak. Don't. It grabbed my throat and lifted me easily. Its hand was cold and slick, fingers tightening with patient certainty. My own voice filled the room. Help me. Please. Over and over. Layered. Stacked. Infinite. It wasn't coming from my mouth. My lips were pressed tight, jaw locked, but the sound was everywhere. My tone. My exact pitch. Begging. Screaming. Promising. The hooks rattled as dozens of my voices overlapped, pleading in harmony. I felt something press against my face. Soft. Stretching. Trying to seal. One of the fallen masks was lifting from the floor, tugged upward by invisible fingers. It hovered in front of me, lining up with my features. I felt its inside brush my skin, cold and wet, molding to the shape of my nose, my eyes, my mouth. It was trying to close. To complete the circle. To make me answer myself. I screamed. Not words. Just sound. Roar. Animal. A broken roar that tore my throat apart. I forced it out without shape, without syllable, without meaning. No please. No names. No language. The creature hesitated. Its grip tightened, then loosened slightly. The layered voices stuttered. Confused. I wasn't speaking clearly. I wasn't forming response. I wasn't recognizing the voice it fed me. Just chaos. Just noise. And that mattered. Because it feeds on recognition. Not chaos. The mask pressing to my face trembled. The edges peeled back as if burned. The creature's mouth widened further, the carved slit splitting deeper down its featureless head. A low vibration rolled through the floor, shaking the fallen shelves. I twisted and slammed my heel into a remaining upright shelf. It toppled forward. I grabbed it and drove it into the creature with everything I had left. Metal shrieked. The light bulb above us exploded in a burst of white. Darkness swallowed the room instantly. The whispers cut off. Something collided with the wall. Hooks tore free and clattered across the floor. The air lost its pressure all at once, rushing back into my lungs in a violent gasp. And something screamed. Not me. The police found the station trashed. That's the official version. Fluorescent lights shattered. Shelves ripped from the walls. The register overturned and cracked open like someone had tried to pry secrets out of it. The security cameras, every single one, were smashed inward, as if something had crawled out of the lenses instead of into them. They said I was lucky. No bodies. No intruders. No footprints that weren't mine. Just vandalism. That's what the report said. Vandalism in the middle of 30 miles of empty highway, wrapped in pine forest and fog that never quite lifted. Vandalism that somehow locked the doors from the inside. Vandalism that didn't trigger the silent alarm. Carl didn't argue. He didn't even look surprised. When the officers questioned him, he just kept rubbing the bridge of his nose like he'd been waiting for this call since the day he built the place. The next morning, before the sun was fully up, he handed over the keys. "I'm done," he told them. He didn't look at me when he said it. The station closed permanently that week. The pumps were wrapped in yellow tape. The sign was taken down. Within a month, we'd started breaking through the cracks in the pavement like the land was swallowing its mistake. That should have been the end. It wasn't. Because sometimes, around midnight, I hear it again. Not outside. Inside. From my own throat. The first time it happened, I was brushing my teeth. Just standing there, staring at my reflection, foam gathering at the corners of my mouth. Half asleep. Normal. Then I heard it. A whisper. Soft. Curious. It wasn't loud enough to echo in the room. It didn't bounce off tile. It didn't come from the hallway. It came from behind my teeth. My hand froze mid-brush. My lips moved slightly. Testing shapes. Like someone pressing piano keys for the first time. I spat into the sink and stepped back from the mirror. My reflection stepped back with me, but a fraction too slow. Not enough to prove anything. Just enough to make my stomach tighten. I told myself it was stress. Trauma. Sleep deprivation. But then it happened again. Lying in bed. Lights off. Phone charging on the nightstand. I was almost asleep when my mouth twitched. A syllable slipped out. Not a word. Just a sound. Low. Experimental. Like something was warming up. I sat up so fast I bit my tongue. The taste of blood filled my mouth, metallic and grounding. I pressed my fingers against my lips and whispered, "Stop." They stopped. But I felt resistance. Not physical. Not exactly. More like hesitation. Like a dog being called off a scent it didn't want to abandon. Last night was worse. I woke up standing in front of my bathroom mirror. No memory of getting out of bed. No memory of walking down the hall. The lights were on. And I was smiling. Wider than I can. My cheeks ached from the stretch of it. My gums were exposed. My jaw trembled with the effort of holding it open. My reflection smiled wider. Then it spoke first. "Say something." The voice was mine. Same pitch. Same texture. Same slight rasp at the end of sentences. But it didn't feel like it came from me. It felt like it came from the glass. I tried to close my mouth. My lips twitched. Just slightly. Like they wanted to. Like something was learning the muscles. Learning the timing. Learning the pauses between breath and sound. "Go on," it whispered. I forced my jaw shut so hard my teeth clicked. The smile collapsed. My reflection returned to normal. For a second. Then it leaned closer. I didn't move. It did. That's when I understood. Rule number 5 wasn't about survival. It was about containment. Don't respond to your own voice. Not because it could trick you. Because it could grow. And I broke it. That first night at the station, when the whisper asked my name from behind the freezer door, I answered. Quietly. Just to prove I wasn't afraid. I thought ignoring it was paranoia. I thought answering it would prove I was in control. Now. Sometimes when I speak, there's an echo. Half a second behind. And it doesn't always match my words. I'll say, I'm fine. And underneath it, softer, I'll hear, not yet. I'll order coffee and hear my voice add, he's watching. No one reacts. They don't hear it. It's layered too close to mine. Hidden in the same frequency. Tonight at 12:43 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. No caller ID. I should have let it go to voicemail. I didn't. I answered without thinking. Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Familiar. And I heard myself say, "Miss me." The line went dead immediately after. But the whisper didn't. It stayed. Curled in the back of my throat like smoke. Soft. Patient. Waiting. I haven't spoken since. Not out loud. I'm writing this instead. Because every time I part my lips, I feel it shift. Adjusting. Practicing. Sometimes, when I swallow, it swallows with me. In perfect sync. Other times. It's late. Half a second late. Like it's still learning. And I don't think it wants to replace me. Not completely. I think it just wants a turn. So if you ever hear someone speaking, and their words seem delayed, like an echo that doesn't quite belong, don't answer them. Don't correct them. And whatever you do, if your own voice calls your name from inside your mouth, don't respond. Because it's still here. And it's getting better.